Yo, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Let me get my camera on. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna cut the camera on. Welcome to the Heat Check. I'm your host, Desmond A., and I am getting the camera turned on now. Give me 1 second here. All right. There we go. Here we are. Here we go. We are all set. We are all good to go. Let me make sure that I am nice and centered here. All right, so you guys can see me. Guys, notice I got this eyeball type of thing here. So when I'm recording, especially when I'm recording artists, it's gonna have that more of that booth sound, that super isolated sound. Some people don't like it. I like the sound. Hopefully it sounds good to you as well. Let me go ahead and turn up the gain just a little bit because I'm far off from the mic. All right. There we go. Here we go. We are all set. We are all good to go. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Everybody having a good day today. Make sure that I am not coming in too hot here. All right. There we go. We are all set. We are all good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Heat Check. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you to all the producers who submitted their beats this week. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much for sending them over. It's my pleasure to give you feedback and help you on your music production journey because that's what I'm here for. Let me go ahead and say hello to the chat. Make sure that everyone is in here. Make sure I'm logged into the chat. Let's take a look here. All right. Got to make sure we're in the chat. Want to sure we can interact with everybody. So let's pull up the chat. Pull up the chat. Okay, let's see here. Pull up the chat. Not seeing anyone in the chat as of yet. But here we go. Got the chat loaded up here. Make sure it's visible on my screen. Looks like the chat just decided to disappear on me. But I will pull it back up. Here we go. Chat. All right, let's pull the chat over here to the side. Still loading on my side. So if anyone is in the chat, I'd like to say what's up to you as the chat loads. Let me go ahead and introduce the show. So I'm your host, Desmond A. Welcome to the Heat Check. The Heat Check is a show where I give you feedback on your beats. So you go ahead and submit your beats to me. The form opens as soon as the show closes, and it closes the day of at noon. So Sundays at noon, that's when the form closes, and it opens up as soon as I'm done with this live stream. So if you come in a little bit late, you want to submit your beats, you just have to make sure you submit it for next week's show. Then I'll go ahead and pull it up and make sure we're all good to go. So who am I? My name is Desmond A. Been producing music for over 10 years now. Produce music on, have music on Bravo, Sci-Fi, E-Television. Worked with various independent artists over the years. So I've been a few places, heard a few things, and that's what qualifies me to go ahead and give you feedback on your music. Also, the format of the show. How does it work? So play about a minute and a half of your beat. Then after that, I go ahead and give my feedback, and the chat gives us feedback as well. But a little bit of ground rules. I want to set some ground rules here. Here at the Heat Check, we do not roast. We do not snap. We are here to give constructive criticism, constructive feedback for all the producers who submit their beats for the show. So there's no name calling. No, that's whack. No, that sucks. No, what we want to do is hey, change the snare. Something's going on with the 808. Something is going on with the melody. Try this. Maybe you're clipping your master bus too much. So we want to give people actionable feedback that they can use and apply to their music production journey. So once again, no roasting, no snapping, but we are here to give you real feedback that you can use in your music production journey. So as we get started here. Let me see if the chat is loaded up. Okay, it looks like the chat is loaded up here once I undock it. So it looks like a little bit of a technical issue here. Shout out. We have a producer in the chat here. So shout out to you, Tafara. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yes, Tafara, I believe you have a beat submitted for this week's show. So shout out to you. Shout out to you for submitting your beats for this show. It's with great gratitude that I provide you feedback so you don't get lost in the sauce and waste a bunch of time doing stuff that don't work like I had to do when I started. We didn't have YouTube and stuff when I started, so I'm here to give you the value that I wish I had when I started my music production journey. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and pull up FL Studio here. All right, here we go. We got FL Studio here. All right, shout out to you. It looks like I got the pronunciation right for the first time. Sometimes I butcher people's names, but names are important. You know what else is important? Good beats. So let's go ahead and look here on FL Studio. And just to let you guys know, the order that everything is going to go in is first come, first serve. So what does that mean? So the earlier you submit your beats, the better. So make sure you guys get your beats submitted in early so we don't have to run into any issues of let me take a look here. All right, here we go. We don't run into any issues of you submitting your beats too late. So let's go ahead and do this here. All right. Sorry, guys. Looks like something's going on with my screen here. Just bear with me 1 second here. 1 second here. All right. So let me pull this down here. Pull this here. Make sure we got the chat showing as well. It's like something's going on here with my OBS where I can't see both. All right, here we go. All right. We got the chat here and we got my screen here. All right, shout out to you. We also got LaMelo in the chat. So shout out to you, LaMelo. I believe you have beats submitted this week as well. So we're going to check out your stuff. So without further ado, let's check out the first beat of the week. We have KX9 with Iris. So let's go ahead and listen to this beat together, family. Then we're going to go ahead and provide our feedback together. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Ladies and gentlemen, that was KX9 with Iris. All right. So, a little bit of feedback on that beat, Iris. So I'm digging the beat. Has a nice vibe, nice production. You did a good job um, with the drum selection. Everything really felt good and cohesive. Nothing really stood out to me as especially needing any type of real correction there. One thing, let me listen to this part one more time. One more time. Okay, I thought I heard something that I didn't hear. I just wanted to listen to it one more time. So yeah, what I was listening for is the sample. I noticed how you have the sample. It's like you're playing with the sample, and maybe you don't have it exactly on grid, and you're using that to have a certain swing to it. So at the end, it kind of felt a little bit strange, just hearing the sample because it felt a little bit out of time, like things were kind of skipping around. So even though the vibe sounds good and it feels good whenever you actually have the drums added, um, in your DAW, if you could do something to maybe even change the sample at the end so it doesn't feel as jarring and jerky, kind of throws off the energy a little bit. But if this is not for an artist, then this is totally fine. I'm just saying, as far as an artist in the studio, writing, trying to get everything together, that's the kind of thought process I tend to put myself in. But if this is just a beat to show, to showcase, this is perfectly fine. But that end part, which could be used as like a drop before like another hook or a verse, you could possibly fix that. But all in all, good beat. Don't want to be nitpicky, just want to give you some type of constructive criticism on that beat. And up next, we have another beat by the same producer, KX9, with Lazulite. Lazulite. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a listen to this beat, then go ahead and give our feedback together. So let me go ahead and mute my mic, then we're going to go ahead and listen to this beat. And gentlemen, all right, that was KX9 with Lazulite. And it appears that we have this producer in the chat. So shout out to you for showing up to the live stream. So this particular beat, um, I can tell, excuse me, I can tell that some of the sound selection, like I knew what you were going for. Some of the sound selection in the beginning, I could hear like you're going for like this 80s type of sound, 80s kind of synth rock kind of sound. Um, if I can get for you to kind of go through your sound selection, look for similar sounding production to this one, and then kind of cycle through your patches that you have in your VSTs. So you don't necessarily have to like change too much. Just have a reference point. So then you could say, hey, this is where this producer has their sounds. This is where I want to have my sounds. So you can reference your beat towards the other beat. Let's just say a bigger producer who maybe they have like a big single that has this sound. Then you can reference and it can kind of help influence your sound selection because I felt the vibe that you were going for. It's just that certain elements kind of threw me off and it kind of would make it difficult for me to totally get into the beat. I like the switch ups that you had as far as having the drop and really giving us this kind of really something to feel in the process, but certain the intro part might be hard for us to totally get into due to the sound selection. Then we won't be able to make it to the second part. And then in the second part, we also want to reference other songs to kind of tighten up the sound selection. And this is a big thing when it comes to production is a lot of times producers don't want to reference other songs or other producers. And it's really an ego thing. I never really understood it until I actually started recording artists and I started learning vocal mixing. And to learn vocal mixing, you really have to take the time to listen to other songs that are out there to learn how to properly compress the mid range of a vocal, how to properly DS, how to properly saturate a vocal. And in the process of learning vocal mixing, you have to do a lot of referencing. And in production, a lot of times we like to be in our ego, we're kind of locked away in our rooms or, in the living room, wherever we're cooking up beats. And a lot of times producers we don't like to reference. And, the only thing it does is slow us down. This is not particularly for you. This is just advice in general. Like it's okay to listen and see what makes certain things sound good and why people gravitate towards certain styles of production. It's something that I wish I did in the beginning. Even remaking beats is a good thing. It teaches you a lot of nuance that you can't quite catch just by listening critically to other people's production. Even remaking beats, even if you don't post it online, those things can teach you certain elements of like stacking drums and panning and using certain effects in ways that you may not have originally done. But once you remake a beat, you can figure out new tactics and techniques that you can use for your own production. So that's just a tip for you and a tip for everyone. So thank you so much for submitting your beats here. Very, you're thinking outside the box, very experimental sounds, and I really do enjoy that. So I appreciate you for submitting your beats. Please, anytime you want to submit your beats, make sure you come back to the heat check. Of course, you'll see my YouTube community posts always announcing that producers can submit beats. So be on the lookout for that. And after this end of this broadcast, you'll be able to submit beats for next week's show. So, all right. Looks like you're here. Okay. Yep. So shout out to you, Xenology. Okay, so you use Xenology. I actually haven't used that yet. For your particular sound, you may want to try also looking for try even like maybe if you want to try it for, you may already have this, but like the Roland Cloud VSTs that emulate the older stuff, especially if you're going to go into that synth lane, you might want to try those VSTs as well. So give those a try and you never know what you might come up with. So, ladies and gentlemen, just give me 1 second here. There's something going on with the chat. Just bear with me here as I try to fix the chat. as I work on the chat, if everyone could shout out where they're located, that would be greatly appreciated. So, where's everyone located at? I'd be curious to know. Now, of course, I'll see it once I get the chat reloaded here. All right. All right. I am currently located in Atlanta, Georgia. So shout out to anyone who came to Atlanta, plans on visiting Atlanta. It's a great place to network, especially if you plan on adding in engineering or recording, just recording artists in general. Atlanta's a great place. It's also a cheat code for all the producers out there is to learn recording. So you guys kind of want to add value to uh, to what you do beat wise. Producers, I'm sorry, artists are always looking for, you know, a way to keep everything in house. So try to learn recording as well. So let's see here. Hopefully I can get the chat fixed. All right, got the chat here. It's just kind of in a weird location. I can make it work. I can make it work. It's just kind of strange that the chat is located here. Okay, we got people in Grenada. We got Houston, Texas. All right, all right. Fort Valley, Georgia, Zimbabwe. Do you have to resubmit your beat? No, Lamelo. I have your beat here. I have your beats here. I don't know if you can see my screen, but I have your beats here, Lamelo. So everything's all good. It's just a kind of a strange view that I have here in OBS, but I will be able to make it work. I just kind of have to click back and forth to actually see the chat, but everything's all good. Houston, Texas. Love Houston, Texas. Always been a great place to visit. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're all good to go. I just have to kind of do a little bit of extra clicking to see the chat, but we're all good. No type of big issue. So, we're all good to go. So, moving for we also got Germany. Shout out to Germany. Shout out to Germany. And Angelo. Just to let you know, submissions are closed for now, but as soon as this stream ends, you'll be able to submit for next week's show. And if you subscribe, you'll see that I'll make a YouTube community post. So you'll definitely be alerted when you should submit. So if you could subscribe, and you'll see my YouTube community post as soon as I make that announcement. Just be like 5 minutes after the live stream ends. So moving forward to the next beat, we have Phoenix Beat. All right, we have Phoenix Beat with Juice WRLD type beat. This one is called Hey. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic. We're going to go ahead and listen to this beat together. Then we're going to go ahead and give our feedback. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
You got this, Phoenix. You got this, Phoenix. You got this, Phoenix. You got this, Phoenix.
right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Phoenix Beats with Hey. It was a Juice World type beat called Hey. So that particular beat, I like the vibes. It has that Juice World type vibes. You know, it gives me I kind of was feeling like Kid Cudi kind of vibes with that. Honestly, that's the voice that I was really playing in my head whenever I was listening to that beat. I was really hearing Kid Cudi's voice on that. So, the beat itself, I like the instrumentation. I like the sounds that were selected. I like the drums. Now, one thing with the drums, it was a good selection, but I just wanted a bit more punch. I wanted a bit more impact. You know, I like the musicality, and if we can kind of just have the drums just punch a little bit harder. What, you know, there's one thing you may want to do is kind of take a look at the instruments that you have in the beat. If you can kind of, I can't even say that. Well, really with the kick, if there's like something around like the 200 hertz range that you can kind of dip out in your instrumentation just to make the kick breathe a little bit more, I would definitely do that. And I don't think you're doing this based on the way the drums sound, but if you could even add a little bit of put your drums on a drum bus and then just add a little bit of clipping or saturation. And let's just see if we can get it to punch a little bit harder. I'm not saying a whole lot of clipping, a whole lot of saturation. We don't want to do too much. We want our drums to breathe, but even just kissing it a little bit. And let me show you guys here real quick. Like even my mouse isn't working today. All right. So let me show you guys here. Let me take a look at the chat. Make sure you guys are still here with me. All right. So one thing we can do for that type of beat, I'm gonna go here, and then let's just say I wanted to create a drum bus. And one thing I could do here is I can add a clipper. So I have my own clipper. It's called FL Super Clipper. And you guys can get this for free at DesmondASounds.com. It's 100% free. Created this for the community. I'm going to be transparent. I really wanted to charge for it, but at the last minute, I was like, nah, I'll just give it to the community, let you guys rock out, make some great music with it. So what you can do is on the drum bus with the drum sounds that you have there, you could put something like this on there and just kiss it with a little bit of clipping. So you could just turn up the clipper a little bit. You can do a little bit of soft clipping, and then this knob here tone is good, so you can make sure that you're not really losing too much. So just do a little bit of clipping, and then you can use this button power here to turn it on and off, so you can make sure you're not losing any type of texture or impact by using the clipper. And that can kind of help to make the drums punch a little bit harder, push it a little bit forward, because I like kind of punchy drums on something like that. I want to, kind of like the Nick Mira kind of sound. I want the drums to kind of punch and crunch just a little bit. Once again, not too much, just a little bit. So if you guys want to use this clipper, go to DesmondASounds.com and get that 100% for free. And that's a FL Studio Patcher plugin. So that is only for FL Studio users. So let me take a look here at the chat. Make sure the chat's with me. All right. So moving forward, we have same producer, Phoenix Beat, with their second submission of the night. It's another Juice WRLD type beat, and this one's called Haywire. So we're going to go ahead and listen to this beat together and then give our feedback. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Let me go ahead and mute myself.
You got this, Phoenix. You got this, Phoenix. You got this, Phoenix. You got this.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Phoenix Beats with Juice World type beat, Haywire. So that particular beat, um, one thing that jumped out at me, I'm noticing a kind of a theme with your sounds and your production. So shout out to you. I don't know if this is like your main sound or your main style, but shout out to you. I'm starting to notice a kind of a vibe that goes with your production. One thing that jumped, a couple things here. One thing is that acoustic snare that you have at the beginning of the beat. You're gonna you may want to switch that out with either just a different snare in general or just a better sounding acoustic snare, but I'm leaning towards just a different snare in general. Just because that acoustic snare, that just that particular sound, that particular style, tends to be a snare that producers who just started production tend to use since it usually comes stock in the default drum sound drum libraries for anybody's DAW, and it kind of make things sound amateurish before we even get into the beat. So if I can get you to switch that snare out for something different, that's going to help you out a lot. Also the bass, I'm kind of noticing there's certain points that the bass didn't quite sound in key. So if I can get for you to go back and listen, one trick for getting your bass in key is to actually go to the um the piano roll, go to the piano roll and actually push things up an octave. So just whatever it is, push it up an octave so things sound super super um higher. They're higher pitched because the human ear can hear higher pitches more easily and more distinctly. Once you have things in a higher pitch, you can play it against the guitar sounds, and it's easier to hear that the sounds don't quite go together. So make your bass higher pitch, push it up an octave. You can even push it up 2 octaves, make sure it sounds good. Push it down an octave, make sure it sounds good, and then push it down all the way to the octave that you want it at, and then make sure that it sounds good there. So that's kind of a trick to make sure that your 808s don't get out of key, and also your bass lines in general don't get out of key. You want to push things up an octaves just so it's easier to hear. So that's something I even still do myself, just because bass frequencies just tend to be a bit more difficult to hear. But other than that, shout out to you for your sound, your vibe, your as you keep working on beats and as you keep developing, you're definitely going to want to reach out to an artist, and so you guys can kind of create your own sound and your own style together. So you can even start the process now. I don't quite know where you're located, Phoenix Beats, but don't be afraid to reach out on IG. IG is really the main place. Maybe even BeatStars, but really IG. Try to find an artist that you can work with, and you two develop your own sound together. All right, so make sure you submit. Keep submitting. I appreciate you for submitting your beats. All right, so looks like we have here. Okay. All right, I see what you said with your special request. Tafara, please play 23 first day is long, maybe 5 minutes. Okay. Bounce, 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 bounce. Okay, so your next. See you next. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. All right, so we're gonna have Tafara here with his first song, instrumental here, Bounce. So we're gonna go ahead and play this. It's like he had a special request for the. Okay, yeah, this is a long beat. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and play his beat. He's in the chat here. Made a special request that we get through his intro so we can feel the entire production of the beat. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this beat here, Tafara. It is called Bounce. So let's go ahead and take a listen together. all right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Tafara with Bounce. Now, that particular beat, I'm kind of getting I'm kind of getting vibes like that could be production on like some type of television show where you can get that placed in some type of sync scenario. Because the first thing I heard when I heard that beat wasn't necessarily production for a particular artist, but more so production for a particular place or a particular scene. So Tafara, one thing you may want to do is if you can even just Google this or search on Instagram or find someone who's currently doing this. If you can kind of try to find someone who's working on music for television shows and submit your music to them, I think you're gonna more than likely have a lot of luck in that area, especially the way that the production kind of changed and moved and evolved as time went on. So once again, I couldn't really hear a particular artist on it. It just seemed like a scene, like a scenario. That's exactly where my mind went to. I couldn't really think of any type of song to write to it as if I was an artist. Because typically when I mute my mic, that's what I'm doing. I'm putting myself in an artist's shoes to see if I can write a song to it. So try to get this into the hands of someone who is in the sync licensing world if you can. Um, Other feedback other than that, you know, certain parts I noticed you got things going from quiet to loud. It's so at certain points it felt a little bit too loud. So if I can get you to kind of watch that, I don't want to kill the dynamics with adding a limiter. So you can maybe even add like just like a limiter that doesn't do too much, that just controls the peaks, that keeps things from getting a little too grand to the point that the quiet part is too quiet and the loud part is so loud that it feels like it kind of takes you out of the vibe of the beat. So kind of watch the overall volume of the beat. And once again, if I can get you to add a limiter, um, if you have the ability to get a good limiter, like the limiter that I use here, let me pull it up here. This is a great limiter. If I can find it, yeah, here we go. Maximizer by Ozone. This is probably one of the, well, I can't say one of the best limiters. Just say this is a limiter that I like to use, especially on beats. Maximizer here, so you can do something like set the ceiling right here, and then just kind of watch the threshold, watch when the music gets loud, and make sure it doesn't destroy your dynamics. So that's one thing that kind of jumped out to me was the volume. Um, but other than that, everything was pretty good. So once again, I usually go into the artist mode, but due to the fact that I went to a scene mode, it's kind of I'm not as super nitpicky because I'm hearing sync licensing television show type of vibes. So let's see here. So it looks like we got JG Beat 734 in the building. Shout out to you and Cuber. Thank you so much for joining the stream. Please submit for next week's show if you're still here in the chat. Cuber, please submit. And JG Beat 734. Hey man, it's all good, man. I'm just glad you're here at the stream. Make sure you submit for next week's show. Of course, I'm gonna make the announcement on YouTube community post, and then I also tend to send out emails as well. Didn't send out too many emails this week or make too many announcements this week due to the fact that the podcast is premiering this Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. Made in the Studio podcast. I'm interviewing producers, songwriters, engineers, loop makers. Producer grind unfortunately disappeared. So I'm going to make sure that I fill that gap, get you guys great stories. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. You'll see everything once the podcast premieres on Thursday. All right, so shout out to you, JG Beats. Hope to see you next week. Looks like you know, man of your word. You're gonna submit for next week, so we're gonna see you next week and listen to those beats. Moving forward, we have the same producer here, Tafara. Another submission. This one is called Beans. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute my mic. We're gonna listen to this beat and give our feedback. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Hey, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Tafara with Beans. Okay, he came through, kicking the door, kicking the door. Tafara, that beat was something. That actually, man, I'm hearing different artists on that in my head, man. I'm getting the feeling, and this happens. I've noticed since I've been doing this show. I'm getting the feeling that this is the style of production that you've done for quite a while. You've done this type of production for a while. You really know how to pick the instruments, you know how to pan the instruments, you know how to place everything together, and musically everything is coming together cohesively. So something in me is telling me that this is the style of production that you've done for quite a while, and you really know how to make this type of production. So let me know if I'm wrong. So, man, that one was a vibe. Great choice of instrumentation. The drums were hitting super hard. One thing, point of feedback though. Let me see. Let me pull this up here. So if we can take a look at the waveform here. Matter of fact, let me see if. No, that's the wrong one. Beans. See which would be easier on your eyes. Okay, we'll just use this one. So if we take a look at the waveform here, and we see there's not much dynamic, so everything is kind of hitting super hard at the same time. Which, listen, I know firsthand what it feels like to be in the studio and have a great beat and just want to make everything loud, everything super loud. Because when you turn up the music and you know you're in there and your friends are in there, you're all dancing and having a good time, you're coming up with good ideas. It feels good. The energy just hits extra hard. But one thing is when it comes to actually recording an artist on a track that everything is super loud on, it could be difficult for the engineer to kind of fit the vocal onto the beat. So you have everything super loud. Just kind of put it in your head that everything doesn't have to be super loud all at the same time. It can kind of it could take away. In this instance, it felt good, but I just kind of want you to be aware of that there could be instances where you have everything too loud and it kind of takes away from the actual feel of the beat. So if an engineer was working on this, they'll more than likely ask for the track outs to do the final version with the artist. And usually engineers do ask for the final version, but I think with something super loud like this, they're definitely gonna want those track outs for the final version of the beat. But instrumentation wise, man, I really feel like this all this needs is a songwriter. So once you get a songwriter on this, it's gonna be out of here. So really, the only main point of feedback is watch the loudness of the beat. So what's up, Slime Beats? We got Slime Beats in the building. Shout out to Slime Beats. Shout out to Slime Beats. All right. Mixing. All right, yeah, there you go. Yep, there you go. Yeah, I could hear the bass a little bit. I try to keep the and I should this is on me. I should do a better job of letting everyone know the time constraints that I try to keep the music. I try to keep the music around a minute and a half because sometimes it gets pretty busy in here. Some weeks it kind of varies, especially depending on how much I promote. So I try to keep it to a minute and a half of me playing the music, so that way everyone can kind of have their stuff going together. I could hear a little bit of the bass part coming in. It sounded good to me as I was dialing down the music. It sounded good to me. But yeah, overall, man, that production, that style of production, I could tell that you've been doing that for a while. So yeah, so please continue to submit for next week's show. Keep submitting, man. I am here to help you. I am here to and guys, in the chat, if you guys want to network with each other, I don't trip. I am here for you guys. So if you guys want to share your Instagram, your beat stars, if you guys want to share, your website, so you guys can network and cook up and make collabs together. I'm definitely here for that. So I don't trip. I'm not like, hey guys, don't promote yourself. Hey, it's all good with me. I'm here. We're here as a community to help each other. So moving forward, we have LaMelo. LaMelo is in the building. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play LaMelo Project 180. Listen to this together. Then we're going to give our feedback. So let's go ahead and listen. all right, ladies and gentlemen, that was LaMelo with Project 180. So that particular beat, good sample choice, good snare choice. Um, the kick came in a little too loud. Let's go ahead and let's watch the kick. It just was a little bit overbearing. And then also the 808 really threw the vibe off. This beat needs something like a live bass or for you to play a sub bass to kind of play with. I don't know how else to say it. Just play the sub bass on the keyboard, or if you're a producer who clicks things in, just do it like that. But I'm just hearing a bass line as opposed to 808s. The 808s kind of just it threw the energy off. I'm feeling a soulful kind of J. Cole type of vibe. And then the 808s, it didn't add anything. So, but I like this the sound selection of the snare, the sound selection of the hi hat, the sample. I like that as well. But if we can just get either if you have a friend or family member who plays live bass guitar, personally, if I was collabing on this beat, I would have a bass player play on this. So that's what I would do. But if you don't want to have an actual live bass player, if you're nice on the keys, you can use something like a contact live bass, or once again, you can even use just like a regular sub bass, a bass patch, which that's just mostly, a sine wave. Just play on that and make sure it matches the texture of the sample. And that's really the main thing there. Just that 808 just threw me off. You know what I'm saying? And I put myself in the shoes of the rapper or the songwriter. They're trying to kind of come up with something. That 808 comes, it can throw off the vibe. So let's try to go for a live bass if you have a bass guitar player, or play sub bass on your keys. So let's go ahead and do this. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Project 180 was the name of the beat by LaMelo. Now, moving forward, we have the next beat and final beat. But guys, don't go anywhere because we're going to chat a little bit. LaMelo 81. We're going to go ahead and listen to this beat together, give our feedback, and I have more. So let's go ahead and check it out together. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that was LaMelo with 81. So shout out to you, LaMelo. That beat had really great texture. I like the vibe of it. I'm starting to catch on to the themes of your production as well. you have a certain type of aesthetic. I can kind of, which is a good thing because an artist could be thinking I want to get off this kind of emotion, and they're gonna associate that emotion with your production, which is really good because you're gonna have real estate in an artist's head, which is good, man. It's not easy to do that. It's not. So shout out to you. Um, that particular beat, I like the sample, I like the drum selection, but there's something going on with the that super low sample and that bass line. I heard you going into like the drill lane with the bass slides there when the beat actually hit, but there's something going on there. I don't know if it's possibly clashing. Maybe the sample has some type of too much bass in it and it's going against the bass line that you have. If I can get for you to, and I gave this advice earlier, if I can get for you to push your bass up an octave, maybe even 2 octaves, and listen and see how it works with the sample, and figure out if it's in the right key. Now, if it's in the right key when you push it up and you can hear the bass line at a higher pitch, you can kind of scoop out some of the lower end of the sample so you can clear up space, and then you can make sure that the bass and the sample kind of work together because they were kind of mushing together just a little bit. And the theme and the aesthetics and the texture of the beat was so good, and especially that was a good choice doing the drill slides, but just that clashing is going to make it a bit difficult for the artist to really get into it. Okay, so he says got to EQ the bass out the sample. It happens. Just go in there, do that, and then you're gonna hear everything sound nice and smooth together. And now, one thing to keep in mind is as you EQ the bass at the sample, make sure you A and B it. So make sure you don't scoop out too much where you lose the soul and the weight of the sample to make room for the bass. So make sure you turn off the EQ, turn it on, do a little change, turn it off, turn it on, do a little change, turn it off, turn it on. 'Cause that's a mistake that I've done before in the past, was EQing my sample too much to make room for the bass. Now I make sure I just do a little A and B it and make sure I'm making space and not stripping the soul out the sample. So that could happen. So just wanted to give you that tip as you EQ the sample. But shout out to you, and I sincerely appreciate you for submitting your beats. Definitely have a nice style, nice consistent style going on your production. That's gonna take you a long way. So appreciate you. Make sure you continue to submit and submit next week. And all the producers who submitted, thank you so much for submitting. That's how we go ahead and grow as a family. Now, that was the last beat of the day. Thank you, everyone. So I said I got something to say, and I already touched on it a little bit earlier. The Made in the Studio podcast premiering Thursday. So make sure you hit subscribe. You're going to see the announcement. You're going to see the video post. I got a producer who has a hit record currently on the radio. His name is Tavares Jordan. He produced the single for Summer Walker, Heart of a Woman. Crazy, crazy production. Really taking us back to the 90s. So the first episode, premiere episode, I'm letting it leak out here. You guys showed up, so I wanted to let you guys know exclusively. Tavares, he's dropping gems. He's letting you know his backstory. He's letting you know how he posted beats on YouTube. He lets you know just different tips and tricks that you guys are gonna need to know on your production journey as far as making beats, and also career wise if you guys want to get placements. And he also worked with independent artists, and he has a lot of insight on that. So Made in the Studio podcast. Everyone if you submitted beats here on my email list, I'm gonna send you an email, and also subscribe to this YouTube channel. You're gonna see the post. So Tavares Jordan, brother, if you're watching this, thank you so much for being the first guest. And I got another interview with another great producer this week. It just keeps going, man. Super proud. Had this idea since December. So finally got things in order, got my mic, got my lights, got everything so I can do a podcast for you guys. So Made in the Studio podcast. Look at for it on Thursday, guys. So here to give a lot of gems. And as soon as this live is over and I open up the submissions, I'm gonna jump right back into hitting up more producers to get on the podcast. And I have another producer who we're trying to work out things out on his schedule. But this guy is one of my favorite producers. He's not super, super popular. He's kind of one of the people who do a lot of production, low key, but you'll recognize the songs he's produced on. So hopefully I can get him as well. Try not to let too much out. I want you guys to be surprised. So let me stop talking so I can get these guys on the podcast and they can just drop gems. So I got to try to keep my mouth shut. So yeah, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. So, well, thank you for checking out the Heat Check. The only way this show is going to continue to go and continue to grow is if you tell a friend to tell a friend so we can keep growing. I can keep giving you this great game. I keep giving you this great feedback. Also, if you're a producer and you use FL Studio, go to DesmondASounds.com to get my free FL Studio patcher plugins. You saw one earlier called Super Clipper, and that one is superior to the soft clipper that comes stock in FL Studio. Also, make sure you go to DesmondASounds.com for free loops. I got a lot of Afrobeat loops, percussions going on. I gotta have more added to the store soon. So, but they're free. So I said store, but they're free. So, yep. So let's see here. All right, guys. So that's it. Thank you for checking out the Heat Check. Give me 5 minutes. You're gonna see the community post letting you know to submit beats. Look out for the podcast. So excited. I couldn't even sleep after a couple of the interviews, man. That's how excited I was. I was like, man, this is great. So, guys, thank you for checking me out. I'm Desmond A. Check out the Heat Check, same time next week. I'm gone, y'all. Y'all be safe.